to laugh, huh, Mr. J?
Alright, lads. Tony Bellew, aka Harley Quinn. I was going to make sure you throw that in there. Harley Quinn. He gave an interview. Alright? He gave an interview on a podcast called MHM Social. Alright? Now, Tony Bellew was basically addressing the criticism, and the justifiable criticism, I'll add at that, of him when he covered the Alexander Usyk-Derek Chisora fight. Now, it wasn't just the fact that Bellew, by his own admission after the fight, said he felt Chisora won the fight, which, no, because Chisora was game early on, but that was Usyk won the fight, clearly, okay? It wasn't about that. It was more so the criticism, and again, justifiable criticism, that was chucked at him over the fact that he was working that fight for Sky Sports. He was being paid to work that job, or to analyse that fight for Sky Sports, be impartial, and during the fight, Usyk versus Chisora, he's screaming at ringside what Chisora needs to do. This is a man who was commentating. I don't think he was commentating necessarily on that fight, but this is a man who was presenting. This is a man who was their boxing analyst. He was being paid to be impartial, and he's given instructions to his friend at ringside. I'm going to quote Tony Bellew directly here, okay? He says, he actually says that he got reprimanded and told off by Sky for shouting. Okay, so Sky did actually take action against him for doing that. Says he got reprimanded and told off by Sky for shouting. This is his defence. He says, but don't employ me for fights where my friends are fighting, if that's not what you want. Right? So he says, don't employ me for fights where my friends are fighting, if that's not what you want. So basically, Bellew was saying that if Sky Sports have one of his friends like David Price or Derek Chisora on the card again, don't have him, you know, employed to work that fight, because he'll just end up doing the same thing. In a sense, it's almost like playing the victim, like, well, why did you put me on when my friend is going to be there? I'm obviously going to do that. Now, that's Bellew's defence. My argument is that you are being paid to do a job by Sky Sports. You are paid to conduct yourself in a professional manner, irrespective of who is fighting. Alright, you understand? So, it shouldn't make a blind bit of difference if your best friend is fighting. You are paid to conduct yourself in a professional manner whilst you are working for said company. You are paid to be a boxing analyst. You are paid to be impartial. I know Sky Sports can be pro-match. Well, they are. They're pro-house fighter. But at least they don't flat out, you know, show you that I want this guy to win and they're screaming at ringside. They don't do that. Like, they're not that bad yet. Tony Bellew's excuse is ridiculous. It's not the first time he's done this. He's done this before. I remember when Pricey fought Povetkin. They obviously, if you go back and watch it now, you can't hear. But if you watched it live then and there, you could hear. He was actually swearing. You could hear the swears from Tony Bellew. I think especially after the third round when Pricey buzzed Povetkin, that was apparent. You could hear it. So it's not the first time he's done it. Since then, Bellew's not been on a Sky show. All right, that was October 31st or 30th, I believe, one or the other. It was the end of October, basically. And he has not been on a Sky show since. Now, Bellew, as an analyst, even if a friend isn't there, he leaves a lot to be desired. Alright, he is not a particularly good boxing analyst. And I can say this, he's a good cheerleader. Alright, you know, he bigs up the matchroom guys, you know, he really does hype them up. But in terms of actually looking at a fight, breaking it down blow by blow, I think that Sky Sports have the worst of the worst commentary team for breaking even to how they score fights. You know, I remember back when they used to have Carl Froch on pretty much every, it seemed like it at the time, when they had him on every Sky Fight Night, and they would go to Carl Froch's unofficial scorecard. You'd have a round, they'd just go to Carl Froch, well, Carl, how would you score? What do you think about that round? Yeah, I scored that round even, couldn't split them. And it was consistently that. It's like, mate, do you even know what's going on in those rounds? Is that why you're scoring them even? Are you even watching the fight? Are you actually watching the fight? You know? So, Sky Sports, their team has been going downhill. But I thought that's interesting what Bellew said there. So he's like, he basically is insinuating to Sky, if you don't want him to cheer for his friends, don't employ him. Well, my counter argument to that is that if you want to be employed, act professionally. Because it's like that in any job. It's like that in any aspect of life, you know? I've seen, without going into detail, you know, I'm not going to go into it actually, because I'll only end up going on a rant basically. But you're employed by that company to do a professional job. You need to do it. You know, there are plenty of fighters I don't like. Not particularly as people. And if I was ever in a position where I was interviewing any of them, you know, look, to be honest with you, I wouldn't be going on my channel, my own YouTube channel, asking for interviews, not particularly. But if I was ever working for, say, you know, Boxing Social, Rob Tebbert said to me, yo G, would you mind doing a bit of freelance work? Would you interview such and such? I do it, and I do it irrespective of my opinion of that fight, irrespective of how I feel. You do it in a professional manner because they're paying me to do a job, and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. I'm not going to let emotions get in the way, or how I perceive that fight. I'm not going to let that get in the way. But Bellew is just seemingly, you know, you don't want me to cheer for my friends, don't employ me to cover my friends' fights. I mean, that's just silliness, absolute silliness. You know, there are plenty, I'm sure, in fact, there definitely is. There are definitely fighters who fight on Sky, who fight on DAZN, who fight on BT Sports, who are on them MTK shows, who could be close with several fighters. Right? There's just the way. Put it like this, right? Johnny Nelson would have grown up, well, Kell Brook would have grown up around Johnny Nelson. He would have known Kell Brook since he was a kid. As annoying as Johnny Nelson could be, do you hear him shouting at Kell Brook fights? Do you hear him shouting like, you know, a little cheerleader? Do this, do that at Kell Brook fights? No, you don't. You know? So, and he covers Kell Brook fights. He's been on he's been with Sky for years. So that doesn't, no. To me, that's just a silly excuse. They're paying you to conduct yourself in a professional manner. You should do it, irrespective of. And look, I've had goes about Bellew before. Everything, there's nothing I'm saying that's not untrue. There's nothing I'm saying here that you could say, yo, gee, you know, that's just, no. And believe you me, I've given Bellew plenty of praise on this channel before. You know, I think Bellew was a fighter when he was in the ring. I love watching Bellew when he was in the ring. I thought he was a great fighter. Right? I thought he was. I thought he was a very good fighter. I love watching him fight. Look at some of the things he's done in the ring. I mean, look at Ilunga Makabu. He took care of Ilunga Makabu. I'm not saying with no problems. He was down in the first round. But other than that, it was Bellew's fight all the way. He knocked him out in 3 rounds. Brilliant performance. Look what Makabu's gone on to do since then. You know? Look at the guy. He's beaten guys like Kudryashov, who many people at the time, you know, well, back a couple of years ago, Kudryashov was like the boogeyman of the division, the biggest puncher. And Makabu went in. You know? Great fight, actually, by the way, if you haven't seen that. And he's beaten guys like that. He's a world champion, actually. He's WBC champion now. And Bellew took care of him 5 years ago nearly. You know, pretty much an easy fight. You know, pretty much. So Bellew in the ring was great. No, I enjoyed watching him. But as a broadcaster journalist, he leaves a lot to be desired. I'll leave it at that. Lads, I'll end this here. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed me ranting. Because I don't like doing them, to be honest with you. But sometimes when I see silliness like that, I just kind of have to speak on it and just say, nah, no. So that's what I gotta say on that. Hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like button if you did. Subscribe, of course, if you're new to the channel. Alright, if you're just here, we're growing. We're getting there. We're getting to 4,000 soon, hopefully. Hashtag GMazRocks, all that good stuff. Lads, I'll talk to you. Peace.